like the.
I'm looking at you like, what you about to ask me next?
You were like the first girl that was doing OnlyFans.
Yeah, so I was doing OnlyFans in like 2016, 2017 before it really. So everybody jumped on it when the pandemic hit, but I was like doing it before where everybody was like, "Damn, you a hoe, you this, you this." But like I said, I had goals, you know, and I actually left the club. So I stopped bartending to do OnlyFans because I got into real estate school. It was hard. I was in real estate school from 9 to 6, and I had to be at the club from 10 to 4. Mm-hmm. So you tell me when I was sleeping, when I had time to study, or anything like that. And then I'm at the bar on a slow night making $1,000 in my phone on OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. So it got to the point where I was like, man, forget the club. You know, I could be home with my kids, not paying a sitter, not doing anything, blocking off my time for 2-3 days, making my content, and then the rest of the time I'm focused on real estate. Yeah. I had an end goal. Like people see you in the club and don't really know your story, don't know where you come from, don't know where you're trying to go. So yeah, I was in the club, but nobody knew that I was in real estate school during the daytime. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew I was starting a credit business. Nobody knew.
But I think that a lot of dancers and stuff like that, like I think when we hear a lot of them speak, a lot of them go in saying that they have a plan. Right? But unfortunately, a lot of people ditch that plan because the money that they can make when they're doing what they're doing, it doesn't, equal out to the money that they can make while they're dancing. And then so they ditch the plan and get deeper and deeper into roles. And I think that's where the disconnect happens. But majority of the time, whenever you hear a dancer talk, they always talk about a plan. And I think sometimes, I'm not talking about this particular situation, but I think sometimes they use that as a front because they feel that what they're doing is not necessarily right. And so it makes them feel good to say, I'm only doing it for this so that I can achieve this.
I was like really behind the scenes trying to get my ish together so I wouldn't have to be on that scene forever because there's no stability. God forbid you break a leg or something happen. How you getting paid? You ain't got no 401k. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, you ain't got no money paid. We living from night to night. There's a lot of slow lights and there's a lot of nights that, but I was really in the club for the relationships. Forget the money I was making in the club. It was who I was meeting in the club for me because it's all about who you know. And that's actually how I got into real estate. I had like a broker come into my club and just watch me and was like, yo, you ever thought about doing real estate? And I was like, I'm from New York. Like, for you to even be in a real estate conversation, you got to be in that class. And I wasn't in that class, in New York. But as I moved to Atlanta, I realized, like, Atlanta is real estate. And that's actually what sparked my transition.
What made the lady just walk up to you?
God, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So, it was just a regular day in the club. She came in. She was one of them women that had that, like, powerful presence about her. So it was like, how somebody could come in the room and the whole room just freeze and, like, everybody's just trying to figure out, like, damn, who is she? What does she do? Yeah. Mm-hmm. She sat there, watched me for a little bit. I'm interacting with the people that come to the bar, laughing, whatever. And she came to me and she just was like, yo, I see something in you. Like, you ever thought about doing real estate? And I was like, real estate, what's that? Like, I know it's houses and stuff like that, but again, I'm from New York, so real estate to what capacity? What are you talking about, lady? Like, you holding up my line. I got clients I gotta serve. Like, what's going on? And she's just like, listen, I think you would be dope. Went in one ear, out the other. I was actually on set for a video shoot a couple of weeks after that, and the same lady was there. And that's when we, like, fully got to, like, really speak, where she was telling me, like, listen, I'm a broker. I want you to go to real estate school. I want you to get your license, and I want you to come work for me. Sent me to school to go to and everything, and I pursued it. Like, I went to the school, and it's so crazy because to this day, I've never heard from the lady again. So to me, that was like, God, like, yo, this ain't where you belong. Mm-hmm. Like, you're so much bigger than this. And I felt that. I'm in a city where I know nobody. I came out here with just me and my kids, a stash, no plan. I'm going to figure it out. So that was like, okay, this the second time. Like, what's the odds of her being at my video shoot? The same lady that came to okay, maybe I really need to look into this real estate stuff. And that's what sparked my interest in real estate.
So before really say why you doing OnlyFans and working in the club and stuff, like what was the goal? You know, like okay, you had a
I
goal.
didn't have no goal.
But you had a goal for OnlyFans, like I'm gonna do this for such and such
No,
time.
I didn't have no goal.
Okay, you just ended up.
So this is how I even got onto OnlyFans. As a popular girl that, you know, so I have 600 and something thousand followers on Instagram on my personal page. Mm-hmm. So how I got those numbers was shout out for shout out. Mm-hmm. So you know, it's real clicky. You know, the popular girls team up with the popular girls. Hey, shout me out! I'm gonna shout you out. It was like a whole group of us. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's how I built my page. She was on OnlyFans, and she sent me her numbers. Mm. And she was like, "Girl, this is where the money at right now. Like, we on Instagram half naked, not making no bread, cause you know we posting in lingerie and shit. Especially being in the club, you gotta post where you gotta be at. Yeah. You gotta do photo shoots. You know, be a little, you know." And she just was like, "Yo, you can make bread, cause you know you got fans." And she showed me her numbers, and I've never seen that much money in my life, legitly. Mm-hmm. Like, not looking over your shoulder, not have to worry about going to jail, not even having a...
That's why, like, when it comes to stuff like OnlyFans, and this is the hardest part when it comes to, like, this modern women generation, because they're already, you know, told by society, like, you know, liberation, and you can do whatever you want to do, and, like, be as free as you want to be. Like, that whole mindset is, like, literally pushed to them. And then they have the means to just make, like, all this money. Not everybody's making a whole bunch of money on there because people have to know you. But then they have the means to make this money, and it just seems so easy. And I feel like it's like the clean version of, like, you know, being a pusher man for women, you know? And so that's why they're saying, oh, well, I could just do this, make a bag, blah, 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 pay all my bills, and then, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of women are doing this, and they think they're even making money, and they're not even making a lot of money at the cost of revealing it all. Because if nobody knows you, you're going to have to go on there and do a lot more than just take a cute picture to make any money.
Dude, touching you. This is all, like, virtual. Yeah. And she put me under her, and she showed me the ropes, and I was like, oh, shit.
How much money you made on OnlyFans?
I made almost $200,000. Yeah. And again, this was 2017, before people really was like if you was on OnlyFans, you was a straight out hoe back then. Yeah. Like, once the pandemic hit 2020, everybody started doing it. But this was back then when it was like shunned upon. Like, girl, what you doing? Mm-hmm. But I didn't care. Like I said, I started a whole credit business. Like, I started businesses with that money. I wasn't Chanel bagged out. Mm-hmm. I wasn't name brand out. Like, my kids were good. I was good. You know, I learned about business credit. I got my car in my business name. I started my companies and really just started to build my name outside the club, but behind the scenes. So when I popped out, and when I say popped out, I don't mean popped out in the club. I popped out of the club. Like, I left the club and had to reintroduce myself. Like, yeah, it's Miss Samuel to y'all. It's Suzette to y'all. Like, Chinky dead, she gone. You know, but that took a lot of willpower and sacrifice, and just really knowing what I didn't want, because it's enticing. Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of girls is really not in the clubs for the club per se, but knowing that I could go to the club, and if a dude's spending $2,000 on me in the club and we're not spending no time together, why I can't charge you $5 to take me out or to spend some time with me? You know? So it's a mentality thing. And then it's easy to get caught up, because I was almost caught up. If that lady ain't come to me and speak life into me about, girl, you better be doing some real estate, I'd probably still be in the clubs. I don't know.
What do you have to say to the girls that's in the clubs, that's doing OnlyFans, that don't have a game plan? They're just doing it just to do it, you know, just to make money. And it's like, with no type of direction.
Oof. So definitely... You gotta have a game plan. And anything you do, even with your podcast, you gotta have a why. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a why, it's so easy to kind of just get lost and be out there doing whatever. Because even when the pandemic hit, that was a game changer for the clubs. Mm-hmm. Like, that year, you know, dancers, bartenders, they was probably making the most money they ever made. But now, I speak to some girls that I'm still, like, cordial with from when I was in the clubs, and they like, girl, this ain't it. Like, we ain't making nothing compared to what we was making before, and it's because people lack an exit strategy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we have to do what we have to do to get to where we want to be, and I think that's where they go wrong. You know, because it's like, okay, and I was caught in that cycle too. Like I said, if I ain't had that lady speak life into me, I'd probably still be in the club because that's all I knew. So your circle is.
And it's so interesting that like a woman can have another impact like that on another woman that she doesn't even know. And that shows that like the same girls who be pushing that city girl mentality, the same girls that's like, oh yeah, get the bag and leave and all that kind of stuff, like you don't understand the impact that you're having literally on other women who are just listening to and absorbing every single thing that you say. Because a man could probably say the same exact thing and maybe it wouldn't matter to her, but if a woman said it, it makes a change. So I think that women have to keep that in mind as well. You know, we always talk about women keeping women single, but women also keep women ignorant on purpose. Some women keep women at a certain level because they want to be the one that rises up and they don't want to see anybody rise above them with the knowledge that they give them as well. And I think women need to take that into consideration.
Important. You can't be the smartest, and that was my issue. I was always the smartest person in my circle. You can't be the smartest person in your circle. Befriend those with goals, with vision, with people doing more than you, because they're going to inspire you to do more than what you're doing for yourself. A lot of times it takes that outside person to tell us like, hey, like, girl, you worth so much more than what you're doing. You know, but we don't know that because we're stuck in what we know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I would just tell girls to have an exit strategy because your body ain't going to look like that forever. You know, the money ain't going to be like that forever. Like, the clubs ain't what it was. Like, I count the money that I was touching illegally, even just being in the clubs, and I'm just like, yo, if I would have knew then what I know now, as far as investing, as far as real estate, as far as businesses, you know, like, you gotta do what you gotta do. And a lot of girls in the club, they're single mothers. Nobody talks about, see, they look at us and see hoes and strippers and dancers. Like, oh, that bitch ain't nobody. But they don't know that we're struggling to put food on the table. We're struggling to provide. And from somebody that like, I'm from New York, where government help is like this. You can move to New York and apply for emergency food stamps and Medicaid, and you're going to get it like that. When I came to Atlanta, it took me 8 months to get my Medicaid, okay? Mm-hmm. And in a state where, you know, STDs and HIV and stuff like that is so prominent, that's important because 9 times out of 10, people's not paying for that. You know? So you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is my overall goal? You got some people that's just what they want to do. That's the life they want. Cool. But this Atlanta.
I think it's important to want more for yourself. And sometimes you just don't know any better. You know, you don't. Based off of your surroundings, the people that you grew up with, your mom, you know, like sometimes people just generally don't know any better. And like, even the fact that you're doing all that kind of work and then you're still looking for government assistance, I mean, like, it just says like a lot. You know what I mean? It says a lot. And that's a hard life to lead. It's really hard. Like, you know, people struggling regardless, no matter what kind of job they have. But like, the reason why a lot of people look at dancers or whatever in a certain way is because, you know, they actually, as much as they go there and will throw their money and pay, they still look at women as sacred beings. And the fact that everybody can see you, touch on you or whatever, and has access to you is going to alter the way that they view you because you no longer seem special. You no longer seem as like this prized possession. You know what people are, they're not going off of when they know you, when they meet you, and the type of person that you generally are. They're just going off of the fact that like everybody, if a guy pays however much money, you'll dance on him. And so it's going to morph and create this persona because that's the reality of it.
And again, I'm from New York. The one thing about Atlanta is an entrepreneur state. So you could start a business out here and be good. You can't really do that in New York. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like New York, you gotta work on. You gotta do so much just to survive. The people is angry and hostile. Like I moved out here, people saying, "How what the fuck you want?" Like like I had to adapt to the culture out here, even the music and everything. But I wanted better, so that's the difference. I wasn't comfortable with what I was making in the club because I knew deep down, like, listen, I deserve better. I'm raising girls. My daughter looked at me. She was getting bad grades in school. She like, "Ma, I'm going to just be a bartender." Because she used to watch me throw all my singles on the bed when I came home and count up my money, and we was living good. We didn't want for nothing. I had a whole career in New York where I had benefits. I was on salary, and I left that to come here to be in the clubs.
Wait, your daughter said she's gonna be a bartender?
Yeah, cause she was watching. She seen how she. I'm 34. She's 15. So at the time, she was probably like 11, 10, 9ish.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, listen. Kids watch you. You understand? So she's watching me. She don't know the difference between it's singles, tens, and fives. She just like, yo, mommy pulled a pile of money on the bed, and we know they knew I was in the club. It wasn't no secret. Mm-hmm. But my life has always been a showcase to them. Listen, do things differently than I did. I don't have no help from y'all fathers. You know what I'm saying? So don't have kids out of wedlock. I have to do this. I have to do that. Get your education. When I had my first daughter, again, me going to jail prompted me getting my degree. That's not something I did on my own. I was just trying to stay out of jail. You understand? So it was just as a parent, as a person, I wanted more. And then,
That's rough. That's really rough because sometimes kids don't do as you say, they do as you do. And so that's a hard line to follow because if they see the glitz and the glamour and you're telling them do something else, they're like, why? When I can just do what you're doing and that's good enough. And I think that's the hardest part of it all, especially when you have girls. But I think this is also, really essential as to why, like, you need to have fathers in the home too. You know what I mean? To lead them, to guide them, to protect them, to show them the intricacies and show them how men view things. It's extremely important. Extremely important.
The culture started shifting. Niggas following you home, beating up women, just all the crazy stuff that just started happening. And it was just like, yo, do I really want to live my life like this?
I want to ask you briefly about your daughter being.
I mean, we saw all that could have happened when we watched the Players Club back in the day. Okay, we saw all the things that were negative possibilities when we watched the Players Club.
Really want to live my life like this?
I want to ask you briefly about your daughter being molested.
Okay.
And this is from you, you know what I'm saying, living that life and being outside and kind of like, like not putting the time and energy into like being a parent.
Right.
Can you speak on that situation?
Whew. I was in Africa.
Mm-hmm. Doing what?
Again, I wasn't in the clubs for the club money per se. I was in the clubs for relationships. I had a dude that was from Africa that was visiting Atlanta. He came to my bar and he was like, yo, you would kill it in London. So I was one of them girls that was always flued out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like state to state, country to country. And I got paid $20,000 to go to London to host a boat party. As I'm in London, I connect with a real, like, y'all think Americans be scamming? Nah, them Africans is different. So I connected with an African scammer who paid me another $20,000 to go to Africa. So London to Africa is what Miami is to Atlanta or New York. So I'm like, I extra 2 days, 20 bands. Shit, okay. As a single parent, I've always had a nanny. Mm-hmm. We need help. And my nanny called me and she was like, I was bathing her and, it was just a little weird. And I talked to her and she told me somebody touched her. Mind you, I'm in Africa. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what do you mean somebody touched her? And she's like, listen, I was bathing her and she was just real fidgety when I got down there and somebody touched her. So I had to book a $2,000 flight to come back the next day because the sitter wasn't too sure what was going on. She was just like, listen, it happened in school. I'm going to go to school tomorrow and I'm going to figure it out. So in my head, I already felt like shit because I wasn't there. But it was just like, I need to be with you when you pull up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it just turned out, it was another student who was maybe like a grade level or two above her. But again, this was another wake up call like, girl, you across the country, literally, like, what is Africa, a 15-hour flight or so, whatever? You across the country stressing on how you going to feed your kids, trying to make money, because nothing I did was for fun. Mm-hmm. Like, again, this was all I knew at the time on how to survive. Use what I got to get what I need, And I just was like, yo, this ain't it. So it was just things that I just kept going through, that my soul, me as a person, I was uneasy.
There's so many single mothers out there that need to listen to what this woman is saying, because so many women, single mothers, they hide behind, I was just trying to make my money, I just had to do this, and I was just doing the best that I can, and their kids pay for it. This, in this situation, it was somebody that was a classmate, but in some situations it'd be the boyfriend. Okay? Or your friends that you let watch your child because you have to do this, and it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because when you have children, provision is extremely necessary. Like, you have to be able to, of course, afford them and take care of them, but you also have to be able to watch them, especially when you have your girls. Okay? I'm not saying that you're not supposed to watch your boys either, because if we want to be real, a lot of boys have gone through things. But when boys get to a certain age, they're a little bit more able to kind of handle certain situations. But you see, you have to be able to protect your girls from what they see, what they hear, and the people that they're around. And also the lifestyle that you're leading, especially if it's something contrary to the norm. Because once they know that as well, sometimes the people at the school be knowing that the mom on OnlyFans and then approach the girl in a certain way, thinking like, I should have access to you because if I pay this, I have access to see your mom. It's important that we have these conversations because it needs to be out there. Like, people need to know.
But again, I'm doing this because I'm a parent, but at the same time, things is happening to my children, and I'm not even I couldn't even comfort my daughter that night. Like, that made me feel like crap. But at the same time, this is what I'm doing all this for. Mm-hmm. So that was the pivotal shift in, this ain't it, girl. You need an exit plan and you need it fast. Because remember, I came to Atlanta to be home with my kids. And I just found that I actually came to Atlanta and got more lit than when I was in New York. Because Atlanta, they embraced the dark skin, the black girls versus New York. So I came out here and it was just like things was falling in my lap financially. Mm-hmm. And, when that happened to her, to this day, I still have her in therapy. And it was eye-opening for me because even like getting back home, talking to her, going to the school, turning up, come to find out the girl that did that to my daughter, she was being molested.
It was a girl. Oh my gosh. And you see, probably because the other girl was in this similar situation and now, oh my goodness. Oh gosh.
She wasn't molested by like a school official or anything like that. It was another child. And even the questions she was asking my daughter why she did what she did, it was just like, yo, somebody's doing that to you. Mm. And it was a conversation I had to have with her mother, like, yo.
With the girl's mother.
With the girl's mother, like, mm-hmm. And it was a girl. Mm-hmm. And that's what messed me up. And that was, again, a pivotal point, even in my parents.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Okay? That's why I said sometimes it's the friends that you leave your children with when you have to go out, because people forget that not just because it's a woman that you're leaving your children with means that that woman is trustworthy and is not, doesn't have a certain mindset as well with your daughters and your sons.
It was because, we always train our daughters to no man is supposed to look at you, no man is supposed to touch you. So she was confused, like, Mom,
And it's supposed to be no one. No one.
you say boys, but she's a girl, you know? So I had to really like put her in therapy to not only for her but for myself, because I had to learn different coping mechanisms, and I had to really learn how to be a parent. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so these things happen, and a lot of times we look at the negative and we don't see the positive and the negative. There's always a positive and a negative. We have to take it for what it is. It was a learning experience, and that's really part of the reason why I'm on the path that I'm on now, because like I said, I could have still been in the clubs. My name was ringing bells, like everybody knew who I was, what I did, or something about Chinky or Chinky Eyes.
Do you ever miss it?
I think that there's a lot to learn just from this snippet of the conversation. Okay, this is a really long interview, and I obviously not going to be here to, talk about the entire thing, but I think there's a lot to learn just from this segment of the conversation, especially for women who are out there and they are saying like, oh, I have to do it on my own. I have to figure things out. And it's like, but at what cost? Your dignity, your pride, your morals, your children, like at what cost? Because there's women out there who are doing legitimate jobs, right? Like jobs that are like cookie cutter 9 to 5 or whatever, and they're still saying I have to do all this financially for my kids, and they turn a blind eye to their kids and leave their kids to fend for themselves and figure out life because they don't have the time because they're so focused on the bag. Balance is necessary. Okay, if your child is not walking around in Gucci shoes, they're going to be all right. But they need you there. They need both parents there. And I love that he named this title, Be Present or Pay the Price, because so many women do this. I remember there was somebody that I worked with, right? And she was a single mother of, at the time, I believe it was like maybe 2 or 3 kids. I can't even remember. And they did not all have the same father, I don't think. Or maybe they did. I think it was 2 kids, and I think maybe they did have the same father. I'm not sure. Father was not in the picture. And I just remember that every time that she came around and she had a new boyfriend, she would always brag about the fact that, this guy was so amazing because he took care of her kids and he even would bathe her child. That was a girl. And I was like, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Why is he so eager to do this? Why does he care enough? Like, and you're not there and he's watching them like, what are you doing? And it's so vital that we have these kind of conversations. Like, I don't even think we need to figure out why she's not dating any sugar daddies. I think any more sugar daddies. I think as we've gotten it's just realize that if you're chasing a certain lifestyle, is not all it's cracked up to be at the demise of everything else that's going on around you. And I think that is the bigger picture, that especially these younger girls who are chasing these lifestyles that they see on social media, they need to hear this. They need to see this so that going forward, they will be able to make alternative decisions in a positive way. Do what they've never seen done before, right? Be successful in different aspects because there's other ways and other avenues to provide for yourself. You don't always have to go back by the quick and the fast so you can compete with the it girls on social media. Because most of the time, a lot of these things are a facade and being funded by the same sugar daddies that she don't want to deal with no more. And you don't even know what a lot of these lifestyles entail, if we're being honest. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear you guys' opinions. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next video. Love you.